Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemophilepod.com. Immutable is a feature documentary that follows a group of students from the Washington Urban Debate League as they fight to find their voice in a world that is too often tries to silence them. Against this backdrop of a city marked by inequality, these young debaters confront daily challenges that range from housing instability to neurodivergence. It's a wonderful documentary film. It's called Immutable, and we're joined today by the co-directors, Charlie Sadoff and Gabriel London, as well as one of the participants, Danielle Dupree. Danielle, Charlie, and Gabriel, welcome to Cinemophile.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I was in debate. I did it at junior college. I was and thoroughly enjoyed it. I had such a good time. It was hair-raising and scared the crap out of me every time I stood up. But I think I learned something from it and I think the sense of empowerment. I'm going to start with Danielle, just in this, what I'm talking about.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering, just in terms of your own experience in doing this as well.
Yeah, I had pretty much the same experience as you. When I started out debate, I didn't get to do novice or JV. They threw me straight into varsity, and it was very, very terrifying. Eventually, I got a grip, and I sort of understood that if you can research and if you can read, then you can debate. And that's when I really started to prosper and enjoy the activity.
Well, one of the things that stands out for me in that experience was the first time I stood in front of a bunch of people that I didn't know in a classroom and all of that. And then when I was done, I don't know if I expected, a standing ovation, a round of applause, people, throwing things at me. I didn't know what to expect. And it's silent. I mean, it's dead silent, which is more unnerving, I think, than anything. Is that similar or familiar to you?
Absolutely, especially because nowadays the speaking rate speeds up so fast. It's
Yes.
like someone will finish their speech and then it'll be dead silent. Like, okay, is it my
That
turn now?
we'll
There's
explore that. We'll explore that because that's a new wrinkle. We didn't debate that way. That this is a new
sure.
development. Um, well, Charlie, or Gabriel, I always ask the wrong person if I have two people. Basically, who inspired this project to move forward?
Gabe and I had worked on a film that had been funded by the Matthew Harris Orenstein Foundation about the intersection between mental illness and the criminal justice system. It was called The Definition of Insanity. That foundation had sort of twin pillars. One was mental illness and one was debate. We were very interested. Actually, at the time you mentioned Boy State. Boy State had come out and it was such a huge hit. And we were looking at the work that the foundation was doing around debate. They had their own summer camp. And we thought, well, this could be an interesting sort of story to explore with kids from Washington, D.C. who are debating. And so Gabe and I decided that we would start filming at the Summer Debate Institute in the summer of 2022. And basically, it just mushroomed from there. We realized we had a great subject and great kids. We started following them the following season in debate, but they were talking about NATO, that subject that year, which was a little bit inscrutable and a little bit hard to follow from an audience perspective. So we convinced the foundation to let us follow for another year, and we did. And that next year, the topic that the kids were debating was economic inequality, which is something that allowed them to talk not just about things that they were researching, but about their own personal lives and their own personal experiences. And at that point, the film really took off, I think. And we had also sort of identified the characters that we thought were really promising and great on camera and great stories. And so that second year, I think we got some great material that, really pushed the film forward.
Well, Gabriel, I will just interject here that the topic of NATO might be more relevant today than it certainly would have been when it first came up. In terms of just sort of getting to know the people that we see in the film, winning their confidence, getting them so that they're comfortable in front of a camera, in addition to all the other anxieties that they might be experiencing by doing this. What was your process? How did you just hang out? How did that unfold?
We were integrated in from day one of the camp, and there had been a release that went around to the families ahead of us being there. So as we started production, there was a little bit of the infrastructure that you have to build to be able to film, right? But nobody knew what to expect of us. And I think what we do as filmmakers is really bring a pretty intimate approach to bear. Like we, don't show up with a lot of lights or, a big crew. We really focus in on about a 3 or 4 person crew, which would be, director, sound, and camera, plus maybe one person who helps us with media management or doing PA work. But basically, I think us being a little bit of a fly on the wall, as opposed to interjecting and asking people to shape scenes for us, we don't do any of that. Obviously, it's documentary, but I think to a great extent, we were able to blend in a little bit, really just become a little bit part of the scenery for the kids and let them just do their thing. And then in that first few weeks, and the way that we sort of casted the film was we had a nice setup that sort of, you see it in the film, the kids speaking to camera,
Yeah.
with the backdrop of the arched windows. And it really gave them a platform to sort of introduce themselves to eventually the audience, but it was really at the time introducing themselves to us, right? We were learning about them, their particular circumstances, their motivations, how they got into debate. Some of the earliest footage we captured, but it's a great way to sort of start the film, and then we're sort of off to the races. I think the piece that there were 2 different other zones where we really filmed, though, which are more than 2, but 2 main ones. One is kind of within the family unit, within family life,
Yeah.
and the other is at the competitions. The family life grew deeper and deeper and more intimate, in the sense of like we were sort of welcomed in, and that we had these kind of like ongoing almost conversations about their lives sort of taking place over the course of our production, right? Things like in the home of Parker and Sadiq, as mom gets a job, and then ultimately,
Yeah.
Parker gets glasses. There's like you start to understand the sort of ebb and flow of people's existence in a way that's really intimate and deep. But then at the competition level, as the kids get higher and higher up on the competition ladder, you started to have a little bit more constraints from competing teams saying, hey, we don't want that pressure on us if you're a film crew with us. So, we had to work in creative ways. And you see that as sort of the film reaches towards its climax, ways in which we filmed around other debate teams and that kind of thing to make it work. But all in all, we threaded a few needles. And I think, like I said, the deepest parts really come from the relationships with the characters and their families. And then the competitions was enough to sustain us narratively.
Right. Well, the enthusiasm of the students as they go through this process is infectious. You get to know them, you get to understand them. And it seems like with varying degrees of interaction, they became more and more comfortable expressing themselves and expressing what's going on beyond the debate stage. Danielle, in terms of as Charlie and Gabriel are coming into this space, did you have a sense that this was going to work? Or, what was sort of as they're becoming part of, no, I would say daily life, but certainly a big part of your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think from the beginning, Charlie and Gabe did a really good job of making it clear to us that it wasn't, meant to be an intrusion, that they were sort of going to blend in and let the kids sort of do what they needed to do and give the students enough space to exist in an already tumultuous, anxiety-inducing environment. So I had a lot of faith coming out of the gate, especially because I have a smidgen of background in documentarianism. I was very confident. Towards the end, it was more of a pride thing when we're the only, urban debate league going to these national circuit teams with 6 paid coaches, and we get to come in there with a film crew. It was a very prideful moment where I enjoyed a lot of those experiences, even though a lot of times it ended up getting in the way of them filming. It was still awesome for my students to experience and me.
Yeah, and I can imagine, although you knew a lot about, obviously you knew a lot about the students who were in the program, did watching this film put together, did it deepen your understanding of them in some way, or did you feel like, how did you, seeing the film, Immutable,
Yeah,
impact
I
you?
think that it put into perspective how strong my students are. I don't think that I would have been able to withstand the pressure, not only of trying to win these bubble rounds, which are between them and like the tournament of champions, but also having cameras in the room or cameras outside of the room waiting to see if I could win. It made me realize my students are a lot stronger than I was and that I ever understood them as. So
Yeah,
it's really grown my relationship and my faith in my own students a lot.
that's fantastic. The film is called Immutable, and I just want to let people know it's going to be screening on PBS. Really urge you to check it out because, first of all, please help support PBS. Please, if you're out there listening to our conversation, do what you can to keep this vital platform for filmmakers and just for our communities to be informed by. They just have done such an amazing job over so many years, and they're really under a serious threat as to their viability moving forward. So do that. PBS. I'm not sure which show it's on. What platform are we on?
Well, one thing we can say is that it will be streaming across PBS platforms, and it will continue to stream past original air date, and then beyond that, the streaming will continue. We're part of what their well-beings campaign,
Okay.
which is a kind of a commitment that they have to telling stories that I think are about mental health, well-being, as well as really looking at different stories that apply to young people and that are about kind of growth experiences and that kind of thing. So well-beings is our home on PBS,
Okay.
but we're also collaborating across a number of different channels on YouTube as well as on the PBS app.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to take a little bit of host privilege right now. Charlie, you were at one time a part of one of my favorite, what I would call off the wall programming on MTV. Liquid TV. I lived to watch Liquid TV when I was at that point in my life. Fantastic programming going on there, and so much of our popular culture has been informed by what later became and what we saw on Liquid television, and then your work
I
with
mean,
your
Mike
baby.
Judge got his start there.
Is that what? Oh, yes, exactly. Beavis and Butthead,
Mhm.
Aeon Flux. There's a
Yeah.
ton of really, really good programs that came out of there. So good on you for being a part of that. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
That's going in the Wayback Machine,
Oh, I'm a
Mike. I mean, no one's
fanboy
talking
from
about
way,
that.
no, don't get me started. There was, yeah, just a bunch of stuff that came out of Liquid. All right, so going and back to our regular scheduled programming, it's just heartening. First of all, I think it's very important, and I think it's pointed out in the film that the students from Washington Urban Debate League and various schools around that area. Is that basically the composition? Danielle, is that who makes up the Washington Urban Debate League?
Yeah, the Washington Urban Debate League is students from DC, Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Baltimore, as well as now Alexandria. So
Fantastic.
all of the DMV.
And I think it's mentioned in the film that the students participating in this program have been demonstrably shown to be better equipped to move forward with their academic career, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. The statistics overwhelmingly prove that just going to 4 debate tournaments dramatically improves students' test scores, school engagement, so like they come to school less tardies, things of that nature, as well as their reading comprehension levels.
And the graduation rate.
And the graduation rate, yes, thank you.
Yeah. I do want to underscore this film, getting to know these students, these young people, is a joy. It is a real gift, and I hope that all of them are thriving and doing well, and also their families. We get to meet some of their families, the moms and the parents who are involved, and how they've experienced trauma and how they've managed to basically keep their kids on course. The love that you hear and see in the film is just another gift from this film. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for recognizing that.
Yeah, it takes a village. I mean, really, truly, and to see it play out in the way that it does in this film. I want to thank all of you for being here today. Again, the film is called Immutable. And again, we've been talking about it screaming across the PBS platforms as part of what was the well-being. Did you say it,
Yeah,
Gabriel?
well-being. Mhm.
And
Yeah,
also,
well,
I mean, and March 6th is not an accident. March 6th is National Speech and Debate Day, which is one of the reasons that we're premiering on March 6th. And it's also worth mentioning that Satara in our film, who we start following when she's a sophomore, as a senior, she was named the National Urban Debater of the Year. That was a great achievement on her part and for all of Woodle.
Congratulations to them for their, yeah, wow, that is not easy. I can say for sure, as a debate washout, basically, that is not easy to get past those rounds. They are tough. They're really brutal. Well, thank you all, and again, also to Danielle Dupree for your work, continuing work, and for your, as we see in the film, and I'm sure as you continue to do in your own life. So thank you for all of that as well. And once again, I want to thank our guests today, Charlie Sadoff and Gabriel London, the co-directors, as well as Danielle Dupree, who is one of the subjects and one of the people who really makes this film work. The film, again, is called Immutable. It's being screened across PBS platforms. Be looking forward to all of you. Thank you so very much for your time and for your work. Thank you. Appreciate
No
it.
worries.
Thanks,
you.
Mike.
Thank you. You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.